Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. It's all yours now, and you are back in TNA. You are ready to cross that line. And we are here to hold your hand as you cross that line. Look both ways before crossing that line. Who are we? I am the vet Jamie Williams. This is my tag team partner, as always, Brandon. As I tag through the screen, Brandon, what is going on?
Not much, man. Wow. What a week in wrestling. What a week in wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see, we had the Royal Rumble on Saturday. Cody Rhodes won for become the fourth person to go over in back-to-back Rumbles. We had Bailey go over in the Women's Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
It's announced that Raw's moving to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And Rock joined the TKO board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really think of anything else that happened this week.
Yeah, because it didn't happen this week. It happened months ago, last year, and we just didn't have any names to put to the situations. But yeah, it has been a crazy week. It's been a crazy week at West Wing, and some of it even involved wrestling, so that's nice.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting for NDAs.
Yeah, we're oh boy, um, yeah, a lot of stuff, and we're here to talk about that with you guys. You are the C in the VBC. You are the chat. You are the ones whose hands we are holding as we cross the line, and talk about other lines that were crossed, perhaps. So who we have joining us live here tonight as we speak?
Let's see who we got chilling with us tonight. We got Jerome Hall. We got Scott Woodford, Lab Rat, Lizbeth, Javi Uchida, Al Robinson. How y'all doing tonight? Whoop, whoop. Yes, and Punk also tore his tricep. Again.
Yeah. Again, a different one. He tore the other one. Uh, who needs a tricep anyway? Like, you can work without a tricep. Come on. As long as you got like three other good limbs. Cody did it. Cody worked without a pec. So, and if Seth Rollins still has a bad knee, I think that's a fair match. One-legged man, one-arm man. Come on.
That was actually the basis of a match back during the Attitude Era. They did a kayfabe breaking of Rock's arm, put him in a cast. So then Shawn Michaels is like, okay, we're going to do a cast versus cast match. And Triple H, you're getting your leg put in a cast.
I had forgotten about that. But now we can have one for a shoot. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, some stuff happened. Maybe we could tackle this chronologically. Maybe that would be the easiest way. So last week we sign off, and then a few hours later, people are like, "Oh, by the way, Raw's going to Netflix, and we're getting $5 billion, and it's a 10-year deal." And yeah, and everybody's like, okay. And yeah, so Raw has a home. SmackDown has come to USA to replace Raw, I guess. And NXT's on CW. And yeah, I guess the WWE has gotten their main three television shows situated. What that will mean going forward is anyone's guess, but so by my math, a 10-year deal, assuming it lasts 10 years, is that's like what, $500 million a year as far as the rights fees go.
Yep.
Which that's that's nice to just have $500 million just coming in right off the bat. That's besides everything else you do in your business as far as like live events, merchandise, everything else. Now you've got here's a 500 million. So that's a good deal. And Netflix is obviously the godfather of streaming. So it's the most installed, it's got the most subscribers, and so that will make Raw visible. And I've always said, and you all know that I've always said, that nobody watches TV anymore except for old people, but even old people know Netflix. So in that way, it's still relevant to the boomers and everything like that. So it's probably the best possible place that Raw could have ended up if they were gonna go to a streaming service. So the rest of it we'll have to see. I guess I also heard, and Brandon, I'm gonna turn it over to you after this, but I guess I also heard that there's gonna be like a brief window there at the end of the year where they're off of USA, but the Netflix deal is a start. So will they just start just air early on Netflix, or or what?
You know, with Raw, them taking time off would actually be beneficial for them, especially like with a transition like this. Like let kind of simmer, let it freshen up, and then come back with a whole new look, whole new set, hopefully whole new creative, just a complete fresh painted coat, as Bruce Pritchard likes to say.
Right. All right. Well, other thoughts on just the whole thing?
Hopefully it kind of forces WWE's hand to put out a better product, because Al Snow brought up a lot of great points on the latest Lion, Tiger, Bears, and Head, where he said that he pointed out how Netflix has the option to opt out after 5 years if they're not getting the results they want.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how that affects the money. Like, does that cut the money in half, or is the WWE guaranteed $5 billion?
I think the way he phrased it is that it makes it to 2.5 billion. And they're still getting the 500 million a year, but they're not getting the full 5.
Okay. Huh. Well,
But also, a lot can happen in 5 years, so who knows?
all right, 5 years is still a pretty long time. And yeah, and they also have the option to extend it to 20. So yeah, if they just keep the 500 million a year rate locked in, then that would actually be advantageous to Netflix, I think. If they ended up, cuz why would you need to kick it off, really? Like, you're not, there's really no reason to take it off if you've already agreed to paying this. Because $500 million, if that's a locked in rate, that's going to depreciate over time. So it'll actually be $500 million will not be as much money in the future. It's you see how inflation is rising these days. It's very rapid. Anybody that's gone grocery shopping knows that. So pretty soon, $500 million will be a pittance, and Netflix is, they'll just keep raising prices. That's what they do. So it'll be all right. That might work out for them. It might be a really advantageous deal for them. So, and Scott Woodford is on the Jericho cruise, by the way, just in case anybody hasn't seen any of the pictures he's been posting. Meeting lots of cool people on the cruise. So thank you very much, Scott, for joining us here tonight. Now, Todd Brantley says,
that's a good question.
Bigger question is, will it still be 3 hours, or will it finally go down to 2?
Because yes, wasn't that a USA Network call?
It is. Now, on the one hand, you've got enough talent that you could definitely use 3 hours, if not more. On the other hand, you just don't have to be locked into this exact time or have network restrictions. On the other hand, USA is the United States as a channel. Other countries that get Monday Night Raw don't have USA Network. So Raw still has to air on television markets in other countries, as far as I know. Unless the Netflix deal is entirely exclusive. But even some regions of the world don't have Netflix. So how does that affect? Is there any countries in the world that do get Monday Night Raw on their television but don't get Netflix? See, that's a question. So I don't really know all that. And I didn't read the fine print on the details, but I would suggest that Raw can be the same amount of time. They can just use their time a little more efficiently also. I mean, people have no problem with most sports games being 3 hours. The problem with Raw being 3 hours is a lot of times it feels like it's just they're not good at filling the 3 hours. Not that they couldn't, not that the talent's not there, you know. So that's a problem they've got to solve. But yeah. Yep, don't have any answers there. Any other thoughts on that deal? Or did Al Snow say anything else?
Nah, but this is a game changer, ripple effect deal, because depending on how this goes, could affect the entire direction of the industry.
Yep. Well, we will just have to wait and see. We have no choice but to wait and see. So right on the heels of this announcement, The Rock is on the board of directors at TKO. I believe it was, Liz, our own Lizbeth, who's, pointed out that there are a lot of positions like this are ceremonial in nature and don't really, not that The Rock can't be, helpful in some way or anything like that, but, is this just a PR move, or do they really need Dwayne Johnson's advice on this board of directors? I don't know, but it happened. So there's that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, nothing on that. Okay. Moving right along. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson, the actor. Yeah, he's on the board.
No, it's definitely a very good PR move. Looks good. And I think it's part of that whole, what Ben's been saying with the kind of push to the White House. Give him that whole Mr. America thing.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. If this turns into idiocracy and we get a wrestling president, that's going to be... We're fucked. We're fucking fucked.
Unless it was Jesse Ventura, I think that'd be all right.
Yeah.
But that ain't never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about just like guys like Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura was he was the governor, right? So he ran for office where he was from. He had interest in politics and those issues, so he ran for office. Ronald Reagan, like he wasn't just appointed a celebrity president. He was in government, so they worked their way up to be elected president or something like that. But now you can just be you had a hit reality show, okay, you can be a president. Like, fucking no qualifications whatsoever to be president. So why not? Sure. The Rock, why not? It's perfect, right? Everybody's got, yeah, I don't know. But what do you know? He's busy now. He's got too much stuff to do on the board of directors at TKO, and his football league merger thing.
Yeah, he does have a lot going on. Plus Hollywood.
Yeah, plus that, he's got to ruin another superhero franchise at some point, probably. He's trying to insert himself into the Marvel side of things since he didn't ruin anything over there yet. So yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Todd also says, wasn't this the same day Ava Rain became new GM of NXT? Yeah. But they, at least in fairness to that, they were already teasing that for weeks and weeks. So, yeah. And that there was that. And then, a few days later we get the we hear about the lawsuit. It's the lawsuit.
It's
same,
shit, pal.
Yeah. Such good shit. We just get the details. Before, nameless, faceless person accusing Vince McMahon of these things. Now there's a name and a face. And it's so now this lawsuit is public. And it's 67 pages long. And it provides quite an insight into that whole situation and culture of stuff that's going on up at WWE headquarters.
Yeah, pal.
Yep. Judging by a lot of people's comments and opinions and takes, very few people have actually read through this thing. I can tell that by the way people's attitudes are. I'm not going to recommend reading through this thing. But yeah, just brace yourself if you decide to, is all I'm going to say about that.
It also includes text messages that are absolutely horrific.
Right. Now, you may have just seen people just showing the text messages or reprinting them, or, articles that include that stuff and everything. But if you see it in the context of the entire, lawsuit item by item, it's even worse. I mean, the short version is, I already talked about this on the Wreckage show, and I got as heated as I'm probably going to get about it. It's out of my system now. After further reflection and, poring over this entire document, basically the short version is, I told you so. Like, that's my message in all this to the people, because if you've been following me and these shows and everything I've been saying, you already knew what I thought. You already knew what I told you. And this is just sort of confirmation. I couldn't have possibly known the depths or the details of these things. But of course, in complete fairness, this is just what the lawsuit alleges. Just personally, I have no reason to doubt much of it. But it is what it is. That's her side of the story, and that's fine. One key thing I will point out too, when you get down to the part where it's what they're asking for, because I've seen a lot of disappointing comments from people. When you get down to the part about what she's asking for, what she's seeking is a dissolution of the NDA as unlawful and non, like completely unenforceable. And she's asking for compensation in punitive damages and everything that is left to be awarded by what the jury thinks and what the court system thinks. She doesn't ask specifically for a figure. She's not even asking for the rest of the money that he owed her from the NDA that he did not pay. She's just asking for whatever the jury and the court and the justice system find in her favor. No numbers given. and the NDA is null and void. Those are what she's asking for. Partly because uh, the language of the NDA that she signed includes fact that she cannot talk about the fact that she ever worked at WWE. Like, she can't even mention it, which she would have to do if she's seeking employment outside of, so anyway, yeah.
Right? Wouldn't a clause like that kind of void it?
Yeah. So the idea is that this NDA is unenforceable, and that's what she's trying to get out of. There was even a point, if you read through the whole thing, there's even a point where she said that rather than sign the NDA, she didn't want to sign the NDA. She felt she was coerced into signing the NDA and harassed into signing the NDA and threatened into signing the NDA and all this other stuff. And she didn't want to sign the NDA. And she even offered to just not sign the NDA and not get paid and just fade off into obscurity, because she's never going to want to bring any of this up anyway, because, her life was ruined and she was humiliated and, traumatized and everything else. So she even offered them an out, like, just forget the whole thing and leave me alone and don't pay me. And, she alleges that McMahon did not let up and just until she finally signed it. And then they made the one payment, and then they didn't make any more payments. And that's why we are where we are. So,
if he hasn't paid, what he owes and what he says he's going to pay in the NDA, she's absolutely, as far as legally in that regard, she has a case.
Oh, there's more than a case. Like I said, this shit is literally, this shit is, right, she's got more than enough evidence, because all this lawsuit is talking about Vince McMahon taking photos and circulating them among people and videos and other things, even though this whole thing was supposed to be a secret and all this stuff. So it's provable. And this is just like what I said when we didn't have a name to put to these allegations or whatever. I already said, you remember when Vince McMahon retired? He said, well, time to retire on Twitter. And I said back then, somebody has something on him to make him do this, because Vince McMahon would never do this. So he's afraid of something. By retiring publicly on Twitter, that means he's very, very afraid of something getting out, and he doesn't want it to get out. Right?
Yep.
Well, fast forward to now, things make more sense what I said back then. Right? And we've all got our details. And again, in total fairness, these are allegations, right? But just based on what I've said here, and if you guys, it's public information that you can read, you can make up your own mind whether you think is true. As somebody that's been even tangentially connected to any of these people in this business, I can tell you again, not one bit surprised about any of it. All very in character. It's quite a lot of detail to go into, meticulous detail to go into for something that's not true, and to not be asking for a monetary set figure doesn't quite sound like somebody's grift, right? So make up your own minds, but that's what I have to say about it. Brandon, I don't know what you heard or how much you got into it, but I mean, like I said, I've already talked about this, and so I did it again. But what do you think, man? What are you thinking when you see all this?
Man, it kind of falls in line with a lot of the stories that you hear about Vince, kind of stuff that people kind of tiptoe around.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way he behaves on camera too. And you look at some of the creative that he's done, especially with, Stephanie and Trish and Linda, and just the way he just treated them on screen. And then all of a sudden, this kind of thing makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. You just didn't think it was this bad. And the fact is, she provided text messages, and there's no way that anybody's creative enough to make this up. There's just no way.
I mean, yeah, I agree. And furthermore, people have suspected, and we've heard rumors of Vince McMahon's depravity or whatever. And it could very well be that this was something that he's not really done before, like to this degree. Like at this point in his life, he may have just felt like he finally had better try something like this to see what, like maybe he could never have exerted this much power over any one individual, because it's crazy to think that someone would just allow this to happen, but it's circumstantial in her case. So, while of course there was always choices at which point you can make to go a different way. I'm not trying to shame a victim or an even alleged victim. I'm just saying that, I always advocate that. It's like, you have the power. You got to stand up for yourself at all times in case nobody else will. And that's kind of her story, is that nobody else would. So it's like, yes, she still had to make decisions, but some things were not decisions. So like I said, bottom line is, if Vince decided he just wanted to be this kind of a guy this once, then I could see that happening. I could see this being like a first for him, just doing this, but I doubt it. It sounds like, something that he's just used to getting his way, and he takes things too far. So Liz also says she read to a point and had to stop because she was disgusted, which I totally understand. I mean, it's not like I wanted to read it. I just felt like, it's just me. If I have to publicly talk about something, I feel like I should know about it. So if anybody's, if I have to comment on these things, I'm not just going to be like everybody else who read a couple headlines and then has opinions. I wanted to read out the whole thing, and I did not enjoy it, for the record. So,
well, at least all the times he's dropped shit from the rafters makes sense now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it all makes sense. Yeah, it was all it's all hiding in plain sight, but so I
and it could have contributed to his like whole megalomania, narcissism. Like, okay, I got away with doing this out in the open, and see how much further I can push it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's never enough. You start out normal, and then you just keep pushing it and see how far you can get, because it just doesn't, the old stuff don't cut it anymore. So
we can't exactly go back to Playboy Sharon.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Yeah, when I finished page 67, I was like, go get him. Go get him, guys. I definitely, even, at the very least, the guy's a deadbeat. He didn't pay what he agreed to pay. So, but anyway, yeah, that's depressing as all that is. Then we also have we had the Royal Rumble. Unless there's anything else you wanted to add on to that.
Nah, I think we're ready to get this Impact attack going.
Okay. Well, let us review. Well, really briefly, before we get to the actual meat and potatoes of the Impact review, quickly about the Rumble, we got a interesting surprise, because not only did Naomi make her return in the Women's Rumble, but also a couple entries later, Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace appeared in the Royal Rumble. So continuing the tradition set forth by Mickie James in 2022, a Knockouts champion has entered the Women's Royal Rumble again.
And they actually acknowledged their TNA storyline between Naomi and Jordan.
That's right. And that's relevant because we're going to be talking about the farewell match that Trinity had on this episode and how it just kind of picks right back up at the Royal Rumble, sort of. So I mean, that was a cool moment. Goes to show how you know, this new sort of creative era is interested in doing things like that, and they're open to these possibilities. So we'll probably see more of that going forward. And allegedly, it's an important word this week. Allegedly,
Allegedly.
yep, Triple H put this together like really quick and wanted to do this because nobody from TNA was at the Rumble. A lot of people are on the cruise. Like Scott D'Amore is on the cruise. He took a picture with Scott Woodford. So it was like something that Triple H wanted to do. So it was a goodwill gesture from Triple H to reach out and get TNA involved. So if that's true, that's very nice. It's very nice of this young man, Triple H. And I like stuff like that. So but yeah, so that was that. Oh, and let me roll back in the chat here a second because there's some questions. Let's see. I'm pretty sure Chris Winland had a question. He says, do you guys have any updates on Okada? Where do you think he may end up, and where would you like to see him wrestle, or should he stay in Japan? Well, he's not going to stay in Japan because if he was going to do that, he would have just stayed with New Japan. He's not going to go work for one of these other companies that's New Japan is trying to help keep propped up, much like a WWE reaching a hand out to TNA to, you know, do them a goodwill gesture or anything like that. He's not going to go wrestle for a lesser company like All Japan or Noah or something like that. He's certainly not going to DDT. So the whole idea of him leaving New Japan is that he wants to wrestle abroad, which really leaves him with two major options because I don't think TNA is a interesting landing spot for a guy like that. But some people thought he might have been in the Rumble. I thought it was like a 50-50. The fact that he wasn't just shows that he's not made his decision yet. He's got his options to weigh. So I would rather, of the two, I would just rather him go to WWE only because I feel like the new WWE is more interested in guys being over. If this was 2 years ago, I would have said go to AEW. AEW is kind of a shambles in some ways. So that's what I would suggest. I don't know if you have any strong feelings about it, but if you do, please share.
I wouldn't say strong feelings, but at least in my opinion, his best bet, Okada's best bet would be WWE. Just with like the way it looks like there's a major regime change finally happening after all these years. Because one of the rumors is that they're also Endeavor's looking to sweep out Vince loyalists.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, which would be like Bruce Pritchard, Michael Hayes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll probably see that coming up.
And plus, Ronda Rousey essentially said that as long as Bruce Pritchard is there, Vince is essentially working through him.
Right. Right, which is cool of her to say, but I'm quite sure that if she knows that, they know that. So they're working on it. So the other thing, Chris asks, do you guys think Moose will leave TNA in a few years when his contract is up? Will AEW exist by then for him to be fed to Orange Cassidy? Will it be too little, too late for him? Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I think if once Moose's contract with TNA is over, I think he's either going to go to WWE or retire, unless AEW makes some major changes in their trajectory. Because unless they do that, I don't see them being around by the time Moose's TNA contract is up.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be around as long as Tony wants them to be around. If he has to bankroll them and start his own streaming service, then he'll do it. But yeah, I think Moose says he wants to be the guy. Moose says he wants to be the guy that you think of when you think of TNA when his career's over. That doesn't sound like a guy that wants to leave anywhere. It sounds like he wants to be Mr. TNA. So he's either full of shit or, he really does believe that. But if he was full of shit, then he would have left when he had the chance. So he knows he can be Moose as he is now in TNA. And he knows that he can be the guy there. And everything else is always up in the air. It's a question mark. It's up to other people, right? So I don't know. TNA doesn't even use Moose to the best of their abilities, and he's easily the best thing they got. So I question everything. It's just a tough situation. But I mean, it just depends what he wants. He said in his interview with Chris Van Vliet that he was not unwise with his money from the NFL. So money is not a deciding factor for him. It's what he wants to do. So I have no reason to doubt that. But I just want wherever Moose is, as long as he's the version of Moose that he's been or a better version, that's what I want to watch. If there's a jeopardy of that going away and getting like a gimmick change and, all that other stuff, then I don't necessarily want to see that, no matter how big of a stage it is or how much money they're paying him. I want Moose to be able to be Moose. And if he can't, he needs to be where he can. That's my take on it. So, yeah. He would not, by the way, Society, start in NXT. There's
No.
not a fucking chance.
Triple H would not do that.
No. So, but yeah, I mean, Moose. We'll talk about him and Okada later. So I think that's pretty much everything that we need to talk about before we get into this. So let's get into this.
Whoop, whoop.
This is Impact. Episode 2. We get a recap of everything from last week, and then we're gonna start off with Chris Bay versus Kevin Knight. Fun fact, guys, Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees is in the audience. You guys remember 98 Degrees? They're that boy band that wasn't the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. So there you go. The match was cool. Like, of course, these guys are good athletes and they did athletic things. Chris Bay hits the art of finesse after a few minutes. And then after the match, the Grizzle Young Vets attack and just beat the shit out of, both Ace Austin and Chris Bay. And, I just thought, like, watching this beatdown, I thought maybe some refs or some security would have been nice. But no, they just hit Grizzly Young Vets music, so... Is that their way of hitting the wrap it up box on them? Like, hey, stop hitting those young men. Play their music. Play them out.
Cut my music.
Are the Grizzly Young Veterans any good? I'll answer that in a second. Brandon, what'd you think of this opener here? I mean, we haven't seen Kevin Knight in a little bit, kind of got a new look with his hair and braids. Now he looks like Sheldon Jean.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that really he was keeping from his original look was the time splitter glasses because they're a reminder of him being a student of Kushida.
That's right. Who's a TNA roster member.
One thing I noticed during the match was Bay took the time to adjust his headband while he was getting beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone on this roster must have Homer Simpson head with how many kicks to the head they can take in no cell.
Maybe they have a crayon pushed deep in their brain too.
If they don't, they certainly do by the time the night's over with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So are the Grizzly Young Veterans? I mean, one of them's good, and the other guy's fine. I just don't really see any draw there. So it's kind of like the way I explained it. I think it was last week. Is I see one guy, Zach Gibson, as here. I see James Drake as here, and it ends up being about here because it just has to balance out. But yeah, I see much more value in Gibson as a single. But as a tag team, I like the way they work together. I like the way they think about it. We got to see them last week in a tag team match. It was funny because something they'll say later, but a lot of people get called the best tag team, this or that or whatever. But they're actually one of the better tag teams. They're probably like top 3 as far as tag team wrestlers who wrestle like a tag team. And even in the main event, we're going to see a decorated, lauded tag team that just fucks everything up. So, stay tuned for that. But I like the Grizzly Young Veterans. Brandon, I think you like the Grizzly Young Veterans after their performance last week, at least, right?
Oh yeah, there's definitely something there, and the way you describe it kind of sounds like it's kind of like the Hart Foundation, where you have like the one guy who's the Neidhart, and then the one who's obviously the star, which is Brett, but it's not really Sean and Marty, where one's just kind of the superstar and the other one kind of bottoms out.
Yeah. Well, Marty Jannetty was good. He just didn't make good choices.
Dude, he was amazing in the ring. I thought he really could have been something.
Yep. So it's kind of it's ironic that he's always referred to in that way when people talk about tag teams as the failure or whatever, but it wasn't because of his skill or anything like that. So yeah. Speaking of failure of skill, we get a Ash by Elegance vignette again. Good vignette, like they're continuing with the Calvin Klein deal, but it's all fun and games, and then the bell rings. But hey, here she is posing in a bikini. So I can only imagine that Retro Rocky Review is thoroughly enjoying this. But yeah, for those of us who also know that this stuff exists everywhere, maybe not that impressive. But liking the sort of the gimmick idea. Any thoughts on this vignette?
No, I'm digging the vignettes. They're really creative, short and to the point, kind of highlights exactly kind of what the character is. Although if we're talking about in-ring issues that we know that she has, well, she's got a tag team partner who's kind of a free agent. Why not reunite titties and biceps?
I mean, hey, let's do it.
I mean, Knockout's tag team division is a little bit light.
A little bit light. Yeah, something we could do. We could do it. I don't know if we're gonna do it exactly like that, but yeah, as Society Review says, TNA should sign Mandy Rose and Lacey Evans and start an OnlyFans stable. I mean, why not? Why not? Well, I mean, I could tell you why not, but why not? All right.
Dude,
so last week,
you could actually kind of go with the natural feuds with them and Jordan Grace, because stuff that Ben always talks about. There's the angle right there. Oh, you think you're better than us because of this, that? You got an OnlyFans site too.
Hmm. Yeah, who doesn't have an OnlyFans? It's um. So Kaz turned last week on Eric Young, and they show that, and then they go to Frankie Kazarian in the little in front of the curtain, and he's cutting a promo saying, I'll tell you what happened when I want to tell you what happened, and that's going to be next week." And then Rich Swann comes in, and he's like, "Hey, man, what happened?" And he's like, "I did not just say I was going to tell you next week. You could wait with everybody else." And he's like, you know, he tells Rich Swann that, "Hey, I took my career in my own hands. Maybe you should think about doing the same," and kind of walks off. So, or I guess that's another way of saying I bet on myself. And then as Swan is left to ponder this, AJ Francis walks in, and he says, "Hey, man, I'm gonna have a match with, or you're gonna have a match with Joe Hendry on Explosion, and you should let me be in your corner." And Swan's like, "I'm good." And he's like, "Hey, man, I met you in the back of the plane, and now I'm riding in first class, and you're still in the back of the plane. And the good thing about first class is there's another seat right up next to my seat." And he's just like, "I'm good." And he just walks out. So I don't know. All right, so we're doing like two pieces of business at once here. What'd you think? Do you like
Mm,
this concise combining of angles here?
I like this because I felt like one kind of fed into the other, and they kind of synergize off each other really well. Like you have, Frankie Kazarian saying like, I did what I had to do to what I felt was right for myself at that time. And then you have Rich Swann presented with a situation where he's being offered a situation to do what's right for himself at the expense of someone else. So it's kind of like, and it seemed like he was pondering it a little bit.
Mm. Okay, what do you think about this? What if instead of the camera just pointing straight ahead while they did this whole thing and guys walked in? What do you think about Kazarian goes away, Rich Swann stands there, and then he starts to leave, and then the camera watches Swan leave, and then AJ Francis stops him as he's walking, and then the camera kind of like walks over a few steps to catch up, and then we do it. How about that?
That'd have been better.
Small change, doesn't cost you any extra money. It's just a staging and blocking thing. Um, I don't know. Just an idea. You can have it. So we get the Dango entourage, and it's going to be Dango and Oleg in a tag team match play against Damian Drake and Dante King. So if you want to hit the Who's again, then definitely do that. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, this is so uninteresting to the point that Dango accepts a phone call and he's out on the ramp on the phone while Oleg is beating guys up. Then he tags in while still on the phone and hits his finish right before or right after tossing his phone to Bravo on the outside, and they win. And that's pretty much that, right?
Yep.
All right.
Just basically a get over character establishment match.
Okay. Do you like the in progress phone call?
I thought it was funny. I mean, as long as you had Oleg Prudius in there just, ragdolling guys, it made sense and worked.
Yeah. All right. So the Grizzly Young veterans are now cutting a promo in the same sort of place that Kazarian was telling us he'll tell us next week what he was thinking. And then they're cutting a promo, and then Santino comes in and reprimands them for beating people up. And then ABC comes in. They're being held back now. Now they're being held back by people. There's people to hold them back from this. And then the Grizzly veterans make a point to Santino like it was an insult for them to be debuting in that 4-way match, right? And what we said about that at the time was that you can't really get a good grasp of what they're capable of from a 4-way match, because that's usually, especially in a tag team match, that's just guys doing spots. So You don't really get to see them work as a tag team in that way. Anyway, Santino's solution is to make a best of 3 series between ABC and Grizzly Young Veterans, and then whoever wins the best 2 out of 3 is the champions. So there you go. Starting next week. So we get Kazarian explaining himself and match 1 of a tag team series. Are you excited for a tag team series?
I am super excited.
I can tell.
Now, where I think this leads, though, is I think this is going to have the ABC go over to kind of give them a little bit more juice before they get fed to Myers and Eddie.
Fed, eh? All right. Well, here's another tag team. It's the Motor City Machine Guns and Okada with Gia and no music underneath. They all hit their lines and then we're out. Any thoughts on this?
Straight up generic babyface promo we've heard these guys cut a million times before.
Okay. Next is Trinity versus Grace for the Knockouts title. So this is the rematch clause. She's invoking her rematch clause. And so they have the rematch, and it's a match, and it's all right. It seems a little bit I felt like it had a little more zip than their pay-per-view match on some stuff. Like it felt better to me. Could just be recency bias, but I don't know. My memory of their other match was that it started out and Trinity was kind of, I don't know, she didn't seem that into it until like the second half. And this felt like she started, strong and stayed strong, and eventually she goes for the Starstruck, and that is actually countered, and she is pinned in the Starstruck attempt. Probably Gresham taught Jordan Grace this wonderful technique. Well scouted Jordan Grace to counter the Starstruck with a pin. And then as soon as this is over, maybe not as soon, I may have looked away for a few seconds, but certainly Giselle and the Shantaraj come in and attack both of these participants. Giselle's got the X in her hand and using it as a weapon, that jerk. And, they kind of leave both these women laying. So that's Trinity's exit from the company as far as we're concerned. There may be something on another episode because they already taped it, but yeah. So what'd you think of the match and the post-match?
And I thought it was a decent match, other than a lot of the super indie no-sell stuff, and it at least makes sense to have the Shawn crew come out and attack him. But I still wonder if this is going to still lead to a face turn with Shaw with what happened with Shaw and Kim last week.
She looked pretty dastardly wielding that X. It's a big X.
True, but it still could be part of the storyline. Who knows? That's what's great about it. You just got to tune in next week to find out where it goes. That is, if they actually progress it.
Yes, that's an if. All right. Well, that's 2 post-match beatdowns, by the way. Then we get a promo from the System. Now, if the previous promo was generic babyface, this was generic. It's just people saying catchphrases, so I wasn't really that into it.
Yeah, pretty much. Trust the System. Yeah, we get it.
All right. Then we get a Josh Alexander promo, and that is interrupted by Alan Angels. He says, "Hi, I'm Alan Angels. I'm another bald guy with a beard." And he invites Josh to be on his brand new talk show entitled, you'll never guess what this is titled. No, really, you'll never guess, because it really doesn't have anything to do with anything. So, yeah. It's called The Sound Check. I immediately wrote down like what, not Cloud9 question mark? I mean, doesn't everybody like to have some sort of pun related to their name or something? Well,
There's so many places you could have went with with his name and gimmick. Like, what does Soundcheck even have to do with his character?
I don't know what's his character.
It looks like he's doing something different because now he's coming out with a leather jacket.
Well, he had a leather jacket, so he's not doing anything different. He's just it's just Alan Angels again. What are you still doing here? Didn't we release you? Is what we should be thinking. Maybe all right, maybe Scott D'Amore was on the cruise living it up with Scott Woodford as a couple of Scots, and they probably just didn't, like, he probably forgot to release Alan Angels is probably what happened. Yeah, Labrat says he's the new sound guy. That could be it. He's been reassigned. He doesn't even get it.
He's TNA's new DJ Dazzy Duff.
Well, that'd be great if he got this. Like he's told he gets the sound check, and he thinks it's a talk show, but it's really his job. Like he's just part of the crew now. That's something. All right. Well, anyway, somehow Josh agrees. He's like, fine, I'll just. At first, he doesn't want to. He's like, I'm too busy. And then he's like, please. And he goes, all right. Baldhead Brothers for life. Let's do it. All right. Now, here's what everybody's been waiting for: the in-ring TNA debut of Nick Nemeth, the wanted man. The wanted man, Nick Nemeth, versus Zachary Wentz. All right. So here's the TNA debut. The great Nick Nemeth. I'll tell you to take it away first. How about that?
I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular. I mean, it was. I get the storyline and the angle that they're going for with him. Like, I'm trying to work my way up to from the bottom to the top. It just ain't clicking. Like, I just don't know why it ain't working. It's already feeling like this DOA
it's not
on
special.
No.
Liz says, I walked out of the room. I didn't see it. I like to picture like Liz calmly watching TNA and fully attentive, like hands folded in lap. And then as soon as Nick Nemeth's music hits, she just stands up and walks out of the room like a protest. That's how I like to picture it in my mind. I'm sure it wasn't that, but it kind of was probably that. So I mean, yeah, this is, like you said, nothing spectacular. He flopped around like a fish, like he usually does. If there's one thing I could say, it was that, well, he didn't get a chin lock in, I don't think. Even though his move is a dropping chin lock, like if you actually look at it, it's like a violent downward chin lock. So I guess I never really thought about it, but I guess as much fun as I make of him for using the chin lock, like even his finisher is like a violent chin lock. So in that sense, he did one, but I mean, he didn't work it in at any other point. I also was noticing that as much trouble as he would have been having with Zachary Wentz, he was having the same amount of trouble with his new tights because, of course, they just kept slipping and he kept seeing his under tights. So during the heat spot when he's outside selling, like he's pulling up his tights and everything, like in full view of the camera when he's supposed to be too hurt to even fight back. So it's like, it happens. You get new gear. You don't get a chance to try it out. See how it doesn't fit. Make alterations with your tailor. we've talked about this in the past. But yeah, your standard match, and then he hits the danger zone, is what he calls his violent chin lock. The danger zone. So he's got wanted man. He's the wanted man, and he does the danger zone. So it's like, I guess he likes Sticks and Top Gun. Sticks and Kenny Loggins. Like it's we kind of get an idea what's in Dolph's playlist here. So anyway, yeah, he hits it on Wentz, and then Trey Miguel comes in, he hits it on Trey, and then Burt Macklin attacks and is about to hit a KIA on him, but danger zone to Burt Macklin. So Wanted Man lays everybody out. I will note this is the third post-match attack in a row.
Three.
That's right. 3. We've had 3 matches and 3 post-match attacks. Very creative formatting and booking. Yep. So yeah, I guess we should just move on then. I guess this was good. It was good. Crazy Steve vignette, right? With music underneath, right? It's very stylized, it's like it's trying to be one of those creepy things with effects and music, and Crazy Steve cutting a weird, creepy, cryptic promo of an insane person. And then Rhino comes in and somehow interrupts it, and everything turns normal again while he's talking to Steve. So, like, I guess Steve, like, if he concentrates, he's got the power to warp reality. But like, if someone else just walks in while he's doing that, that just goes away.
Well, his attention's diverted.
Yeah. I never knew that. I thought these things were like pre-recorded or whatever, It turns out they do them live. They do these live. So there's one we're going to see next. That was actually live from whatever dimension or realm or whatever. But for this one, nobody interrupts Decay when they do theirs, but Rhino just walked in and was like, "Hey, I don't like what you did to Tommy Dreamer," or whatever he said. I don't know. I wasn't listening. I was too busy. Yeah, I was just too busy enjoying this reality warping segment here. Yeah. And then we get Decay vignette with music underneath. No one interrupted that, like I said, but Rosemary does have a sweet top hat, so we take what we can get.
And at least they cover the plot holes of what happened from them becoming what is it, Jessica and Courtney Rush.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Oh yeah, we decided to take."
What did they say? Yeah, I was going to say hat shopping.
I know they decided that the time was right for that. No, they decided it was time for them to take back their or what they called their meat suits.
Right. Meat suits with hat. Oh, that's free fine. Hat. Yeah, free hat. Yeah, not Hat McCullough, a top hat, a nice top hat. It's like the Monopoly.
Maybe if you warm their icy heart with a Warm Island song.
Yeah, maybe. All right. So yeah, all right. So we got a match next, a tag team match. Playa. It is Danny Luna and Jody Threat, the team that we never knew we needed, versus MK Ultra. As I'm watching this, Danny Luna goes to tie up. She somehow misses. Like, I mean, she didn't completely miss. It's not like she didn't make contact with Masha, but like her hand wasn't like anywhere on Masha's arm or whatever. It was just like whatever. And I was like, huh, that was weird. I guess she got taken by surprise or something like that. And then they went to go for a second tie up, and she barely could tie up at all. Like, Danny Luna can't even lock up. I didn't know it was this bad. Like, I didn't remember seeing anything like this. Um, the other times I've seen her, but it's like this is a fundamental part of the in-ring stuff, and she can't do it. She could not do it twice in a row with one of the best women's wrestlers there is. I don't get it. Masha tied up. She went for a strong tie up. It'd be like, Brandon, it would be like if you went to work and just tried to tie up with somebody and you give them the pro wrestling tie up and they're like, oh, what are you doing? That's what it was like with Danny Luna here. Like, she looked like she'd never been in a wrestling ring before in her life with these tie ups. I mean, she ran her spots or whatever, but couldn't lock up. That was crazy to me. Did you even notice that?
Barely, but yeah, now that you mention it, wow. Yeah, it just goes back to the NXT training of like where you're not really getting the actual fundamental basics that you really pick up from, being on the actual indie scene and getting your reps in. It's going through the factory.
No. I would invite if you watch to do my Conrad, if you go out, if you do one thing this week, go out of your way, rewind to the beginning of this match with MK Ultra and watch Danny Luna try to tie up. It's the worst shit I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, if you can't even tie
and
up,
keep in mind, I saw Maxine in the Rumble just the other night, and I was like, fuck. So
yeah, if you can't tie up, you shouldn't be on TV.
Yeah, no.
Including the refs.
Yeah, certainly. The refs should be able to. So anyway, yeah. MK Ultra goes over with the Rainbow Mika critical art on Jody Threat, and then afterwards they beat up Danny Luna too. So that's the fourth post-match beatdown we've gotten in 4 matches. So there you go. Society says, I just assumed TNA stole some FSW trainees from Vegas and put them on the show. Yeah, that's who lost to Dango and Oleg earlier. But Danny Luna is from a whole other country. And she was in the NXT system. So, no excuse. Unless she was just that intimidated by Masha. All right. Then the Rain Guns walk, and then we do the next week preview. So I guess do you like, we talked about it last week. I didn't know if they were going to keep doing it, but do you like how they do this as like a package with a voiceover instead of just having the 2 announcers sit at the desk and read over graphics?
Yeah, it's different. I like it.
Okay. All right. So here's our main event. This is what we've all been waiting for. Not just this night, but for a long time. It is the System versus Okada and others. I will, do you want to talk about this first, or should I?
The only real note I have is that it felt really awkward to me that they're having their main heel faction go under to essentially a makeshift trios team where one guy's not going to be coming back.
Well, remember one of those trios is Goldberg 98, so.
True.
Yeah. Gotta remember that.
And I was kind of really disappointed that that Okada didn't come out in the Okado gimmick and then rip it off just to be like, kind of a nod to, but say like, okay, that's in the past. I'm this now.
Well, he knelt down and patted TNA logo on the head very nicely, like a pet. Yeah, that was never going to happen, but I know what you mean. So, as for the match itself, I thought there was some good babyface heat as they, the machine guns dismantled and tried to cripple Eddie Edwards to start,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I remember that part. I was thinking like, okay, who's the face and who's the heel team here?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, the Guns. Oh sure, they're the biggest baby faces in the world. Everybody gets behind everything they do, and that is especially crippling this guy. Um, which no, he has not lost any weight. Uh, there was someone asking. Society asked about that earlier. No, he's still Fat Eddie. He's very much Fat Eddie. He'll always be Fat Eddie as long as he wrestles in a shirt. Um, but um, but yeah. So good babyface heat when they cripple Eddie. A very unique version where they sort of hang him up in the ropes and break both of his legs. And then there's a good babyface fire as they make their comeback on Eddie. Like he gets the babyface heat and the babyface comeback. He's doing it all here. A good
Yeah.
show of strength from Goldberg 98 because he beats up Myers and Eddie all by himself. At least on one occasion, probably a couple of different occasions. Um, then we got like Brian Myers watches, like he tags himself in like a blind tag, and then he stands in the corner and watches the Guns hit an entire sequence on his partner. Um, the one where they do the drop toe hold into the face grab, the face lock thing, and then the drop kick thing. Like Myers just stood in the corner legal and waited for them to finish that before he before he hit I believe it was Shelley with a flying knee.
Right. And in the psychology of it, he'd be completely justified in taking out the Guns' illegal tag partner.
Or the legal one, because he's legal now. But that's just goes to show you how everybody just they don't think about this shit anymore. It's just phony. Like wrestling is just phony all the time. Like I'll just watch my partner get beat up. Like I'm the legal man now, and I gotta wait my turn because they're getting their shit in. Like when he hits the ropes to go do the drop kick, I'm cutting him off. Boom. Sell to the outside, bitch. That's it. There's no get to hit your drop kick and then I blindside you. I'm going to interrupt you. That's the whole point of me getting in there.
So yeah, psychology and character has gone out the window in space of get your shit in and do whatever you want to do.
Right. So that happens, right? This is basically the ending sequence of the match right at this point. And then we can go back and talk about other things. But so the ending sequence of the match is so Myers watches the Guns hit that entire double team sequence on Eddie. Then he knees Sabin in the face. Okay. So it wasn't Shelley, it was Sabin. He gives a flying knee to Sabin. Sabin sells once in his life and goes to the outside. Then he goes for a roster cut on Alex Shelley, and he gets intercepted because Okada hits him with a drop kick. Then he hits the Rainmaker on Brian Myers, and Brian Myers just gets up and takes Alex Shelley's finish for the 1-2-3. So not only did Brian Myers shit on Okada's finish, Alex Shelley shit on Okada's finish. Because all he had to do was just see the Rainmaker and then pin Brian Myers. That's like, we get the win. I put over your finish because I just, it just beat the guy. That's it. Like, everybody's happy. But in one way, he fucked over both of them. Like, it was just, you made Brian Myers look like an asshole and yourself look like an asshole. I can't, there's no way that wasn't purposeful. What do you do? Like, yeah. So meanwhile, Moose, on the other hand, okay, he takes a double super kick from the Machine Guns and he sells that for the rest of the entire show, which is only like a couple more minutes on the air, but still, they hit a move on Moose. He sells to the outside and stays outside, and even as they're going off the air, he gets help. He gets help to the back. But Brian Myers just takes a finish and gets up and walks into another finish. So, yeah.
I thought that would have been a decent spot. Would have been Myers goes for the roster cut on Okada. Okada hits him with the Rainmaker 1-2. Moose or Eddie breaks it up.
Nah, he just gets beat. That's it. That's all it is. or just don't do it. Don't do the move, or do the move to an illegal guy. You know, like we don't even have to do that. He's a guest. You know, like when somebody comes to your house, do you just is like, do you just like, I don't got anything to eat or drink, just sit there. Like what it's like I'm astonished at these people. They're supposed to be friends. And they're not looking out for each other in any fashion, really. They're just doing whatever. I don't even know if they know. I don't even honestly know if Alex Shelley realizes what he did. Like, he may have thought that was perfectly acceptable. Like, oh yeah, man, just hit your finish, I'll hit my finish. It's like, yeah, but my finish is supposed to knock the guy out. But he did the same thing with remember Nick Aldis? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just let me let me DDT you on the belt and then just get right back up and I'll hit you with my finish. Like, he's either ribbing and he's an asshole, or he's really just that oblivious.
Fuck your finish. They should have never brought you back.
They're sitting there with muddy shoes, stepping all over the Rainmaker. But that's fine. The people got basically what they wanted. They got the Moose and Okada face off. They got some nice stuff. They got to see, despite these other 4 idiots, they got to see 2 real professionals at least. So that was nice. It was nice for them. Moose still looks incredible shape. And
a Moose versus Okada one-on-one match would have done so much more.
Right. It would be too big for this episode. They had to make that a special event. But it's just hard for me. Like, that's your champ. The guy that sells the double super kick off the air and, it's on the losing side of a 6-man and does promos where he just says, trust the system and whatever. It's like, there can never just be a concerted effort to say, this is the guy, and we're not messing around anymore. It's just guys like, yeah, Moose is the champion, but whatever. Josh Alexander's the world beater. He beat Will Ospreay. Like, that's, I guess you can't fight Canada.
Yeah, with the way they're kind of setting things up, Moose has to go over Alexander. He has to.
I think he will, but it'll just be I don't know.
It'll probably be some system bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But, whatever. As Heath Slater's theme song used to say, I'm just one man. So, can't worry about trying to please me all the time. Just do whatever you want. Push all the small guys and Canadians you want. That's the way to go. Let everybody bury all the finishes. Let everybody just do a bunch of stuff, no matter. Do the same angle on the show 4 times in a row. Do a post-match beatdown after every match. It'll never get old. We all love lawlessness and violence, and we love in sports when there's no consequences. I'm sure that anytime there's some sort of unnecessary roughness penalty or things like that everybody feels like it's completely unjustified when the refs call a penalty. It's fine. So yeah, there you go. That was your episode. So
Whoop whoop.
Final thoughts. What'd you think of the Rainmaker? How'd you like his it's probably the first time you've seen him in a while. What'd you think of his presence and his stuff in there?
I didn't think it was a fair showcase of him. I thought that he could have done a lot more. Again, a one-on-one match with Moose would have been the ideal choice here.
All right. Well, of what you did see.
I liked it. I thought he was pretty good.
Pretty. All right. Well, that's more than I can say for this episode. It was, if nothing else, redundant, repetitive, uh, uncreative. Um, yes, and very few bright spots to look at, I think, in general. So it kind of just seems like, you know, a fresh paint of coat is a saying, but it usually implies that there's more than just that. This seems like so far it really is just that. You could change the rope color. You can do a voiceover on a package instead of having announcers read, but at the end of the day, your content is still the same. You still have the same people running the same matches, doing the same finishes and the same booking. Now you're literally doing the same finishes and the same booking. Um, not a fan. So, but I mean, if you guys are fans and you want to continue following us and whatever we're doing outside of reviewing Impact, then we could do that. Is there a punching up Impact, by the way? Or
There is. I actually got it pulled up and ready to go.
all right. Well then, let us do that. Before you tell the people where they can find this and other things that you're doing.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get this going. This will be for this show that we just did. We do our recap and catch-up packet, cut to intro and pyro ballyhoo, and then we go to the announce table where they run down the card for the night, as well as discuss the events that happened last week. And then
The
we have
announced balcony.
the announced balcony. Yes, that's a nice setup. Like those kind of personalized setups they have kind of remind me of like, back when WCW used to have Nitro, like Spring Break Nitro at the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
They need to do like the more of those like personalized, just individualistic settings. I like that. It's different. So we have an in-ring with the system. We had the system music and entrance. Myers and Edwards take turns putting over their group and their victories at Hard to Kill. Moose says that last week they took the night off to celebrate, but tonight is about business and becoming the system that runs TNA. First step is eliminating the Motor City Machine Guns. Santino music and entrance alongside Motor City Machine Guns and Okada. Santino adds stipulation to main event that whoever scores the pin gets next shot at title, and if it's Moose, he has no surrender off. So basically, he's giving incentive to the Motor City Machine Guns and Okada while at the same time creating dissension in the system, or at least attempting to. So then it ends up breaking out into a brawl between the system and the Motor City Machine Guns and Okada, and we go to our first commercial break. We come back with a during commercial, the system and Motor City Machine Guns and Okada fighting before they're separated by officials and wrestlers. Then you go backstage to where both groups are being held back while they yell and try to get at each other.
So that's how you do it. You actually try to separate them when there's an outside of match scuffle. I got it. Okay. I didn't learn that from this episode we just watched.
And then we have our first match, Kevin Knight versus Chris Bay. Kevin Knight music and entrance, Chris Bay music and entrance. We get the same match we see that we got on the show, except it's just more condensed. And then we have the Grizzled Young Vets come out and lay out ABC, except this time Knight jumps in and tries to help out, but he gets laid out too. Then you go to the Ash by Elegance vignette, same one we see on the show. Then you go to a replay of the finish and post match of the Grizzled Young Vets versus Kaz and EY. And then we have the same promo we get with Kaz, with Swan and Francis getting involved. And then we go to our second commercial break. Come back with match number 2, Dango and Prudius versus Drake and Young. Dango Prudius music and entrance with Alpha Bravo. Dango pre-match promo, but we give him more than just man do I hate wrestling. Match goes like it does on the show. Then we have Jake something out to fight with Prudius until Dango Bravo get involved and they put Jake through a table.
Oh.
So we keep that storyline going. And we come backstage with the Grizzled Young Vets promo, the same one on the show, to set up the ABC best of 2 out of 3 series. And then we go backstage to the System locker room where they talk about the main event. Moose mentions that a deal has been reached. They wonder what kind of deal it is that he's talking about, and they hype Grace versus Trinity for after they come back from commercial. They go to our third commercial break, come back with match number 3, the Knockouts World Title, Jordan Grace versus Trinity. Trinity music and entrance, Grace music and entrance, a condensed version of the match that we get on the show. And then we have Shaw and Entourage out to lay out Grace and Trinity. And then Gail Kim comes out going like, what the fuck? Shaw flips off Kim and hits finisher on Grace and Trinity.
So we're doing another post-match thing just like they did. What if instead of, say, the Grizzly Young Vets doing the attack at the end of that match, what if they don't attack? And then what if they go in the back and do the thing with Santino or something and start berating him and berating the ABC and everything, and then ABC comes back through the curtain and hears them and comes over there and then tries to get in their face, and then that thing happens like that. That way we're not having every single match have like a post-match beatdown deal, but we're still getting the same business. What do you think about that?
I like that.
All right.
That definitely actually makes it work better. All right, and then we go backstage to Josh Alexander. We get the same promo that we saw, along with Alan Angels inviting him to his talk show. Then you go to the Crazy Steve vignette, same one that we see on the show. Match number 4, Nick Nemeth versus Zachary Wentz. Wentz music and entrance with Trey. Nemeth music and entrance. Nemeth over by DQ after Trey gets involved. Nemeth fights back and grabs a weapon to send the Rascals running.
We don't want to give. I think we should just give Zachary Wentz a strong win. I think we should just give him a strong win and leave Dolph Ziggler in the ring looking confused, like I thought I was the best, and then just go to the next segment. No, too much. All right, we'll go with yours.
And then we go backstage with Moose. He exits another wrestler's locker room. Gia confronts him about what he's doing, and Moose says that she and everyone else will find out later tonight. Then we go to our 4th commercial break, and then come back with the Decay vignette that we saw on the show. And then we go backstage with Gia and Nick Nemeth. Gia attempts to interview Nick, and then Macklin blindsides Nick and lays him out.
Son of a bitch.
And then we get a Tasha Steelz package after that.
Oh. She wants to be great.
Yeah, we didn't get to see her on the show tonight, so we got to get her in there somehow. And then we go to match number 5, Luna and Threat versus MK Ultra. Luna music and entrance, Threat music and entrance, MK Ultra music and entrance. Same matches on the show, except MK Ultra looks dominant, even more dominant than before. Because, man, so that's one of the big takeaways I took. One of the big takeaways I took from the match was like Luna and Threat got a lot in. Like they got a lot in there. So
Not
I have
proper lockup, but a lot of other stuff.
So then we have MK Ultra cut a post-match promo about how they're going to take violence to another level against Decay. And we cut backstage to Shaw and company. Shaw, Evans, and Jay are seen walking backstage. Gail Kim confronts Shaw and asks why Shaw continues to use Jay and Evans. Evans pins Kim against the wall, and Shaw tells Gail that the group has spent time since Bound for Glory and the TNA relaunch getting on the same page, and they're going to dominate the Knockouts division.
Okay.
Go to our
vaguely sexual.
And then you go to our 5th commercial break. Then come back for the New Japan hype video. Cut to the announced balcony, run down next week's card, and hype the main event that's about to start. Match number 6 main event, the System versus Motor City Machine Guns and Okada. System music and entrance, Motor City Machine Guns music and entrance, Okada music and entrance. Match goes like it does on the show until we get to a spot where it looks like Okada is injured. Trainers come out and say that they're not letting him continue. Match goes on, and then Kushida runs down and stands in the Motor City Machine Gun's corner. Shelley goes in for a hot tag. Kushida pulls his hand away and hits Shelley. Moose spears and pins Shelley. Kushida joins the system, and they beat down Motor City Machine Guns. And then they stand tall before we cut away to the Ali vignette that we saw on the show.
We saw an Ali vignette on the show?
That's what the show ended with, yes.
Not my feed. All right.
Yeah, basically it was like a campaign video where it ended with him saying, "I'm Mustafa Ali and I approve this message."
Yeah, I don't like whoever's been uploading these TNA bootlegs lately. They've been missing a lot of shit, and I don't appreciate it. All right, well, there you go. I mean, I've seen that gimmick, so I know what it basically looks like, but all right. Well, there you go. So Kushida is turning, huh? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We may have a creative difference of opinion here, but it's your show. So,
well, the idea I was going to go with it was, Kushida's feeling slighted that Okada got picked over him. Cause like, what, I thought we were buds, and Moose kind of like saying, "Hey, you hook up with us, we can get you the X Division title."
Interesting. Well, we'll just have to see how this plays out in next week's Punching Up Impact. So until then, I guess we should tell the people where they can find us doing what we do. Where can they find you, Brandon?
As usual, you can find me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X, Transarchus Tia. I am also on Twitch at twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchus, although it's currently on hiatus until I get a new computer and get new things set up, because there's absolutely no way I can stream gaming on this laptop. That ain't happening. And then I'm also on Substack at Jim G. Brandon.
All right. Well, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your platforms, social media or otherwise, except no substitutes. There's a few people out there you may find that have used that name. They're not me. They're not doing it right. So don't be fooled, and check me out wherever you check things out. At Opinion Haver. It's the only thing I use. It's a brand. So, that being said, you can check me out also on the Next Level Wrestling Review, usually with Big Ray Hernandez, but this week it'll be with Jimmy T. And that's at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We talk about NXT. Then you've got every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, you've got The Wreckage with myself, and also I'm just the third wheel with Chris Ames and Jimmy T again. We talk about Collision, and that's always yeah. This week you can also check me out on the Monday Locker Room with RBV. We talk about the Royal Rumble, gave an overview of the Royal Rumble, and a detailed breakdown and recap. So if you want to hear about the Royal Rumble and you want to hear me talk about it, then Monday Locker Room is for you. Go check that one out. Let's see, what else? I feel like there was something else. Probably nothing else. But whatever it is, Opinion Haver. And then you also got to check out Wrestling with Ray Rogers every Friday at their concrete time of whenever they go live, and whichever guest they're going to have. I forget what guest the last guest they had was Rico Costantino. But this next guest is supposed to be, god damn, I forgot who it is. I feel bad, but
Vince McMahon, pal. I heard he's got a free schedule.
He's got a free schedule. No, it's probably not him, but yeah, they're gonna have another interview, so you're gonna want to check it out, whoever it is. So check them out. Check out Stevie Richards' wrestling analysis channel, fitness channel, tech channel, wife channel, him and wife channel. Too many channels. He's got more channels than I've got shows this week for sure. So that's definitely something you're gonna want to check out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we will see you next week for these TNA adventures. And won't you cross that line with us? For Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign off line.
Give your balls a tug, you tit fucker.